What's up, movie fans? Guys, I recently saw one of my most anticipated movies of 2026, Supergirl. I was extremely excited for this movie going into it because this is the second installment in James Gunn's new DC universe, or rather the second movie. You know what I mean. I was a big fan of Superman last year. In general, I have liked what James Gunn is doing with DC so far, so I was very, very excited to see what this movie had to offer, especially because this is the first project in the DCU that actually isn't written or directed by James Gunn. He just produced this movie. I was excited to see what other filmmakers could do in this new DC universe. And then I started to get a little bit worried about this movie because a lot of the reviews that came out early were pretty mixed on the film. And now that I have seen the movie, I really, really wish that I could tell you I felt differently. I really, really wish that I could tell you that all of the critics are wrong and Supergirl is a great film, but I actually thought it was just kind of mid. I'm kind of with everybody else on this movie. There were a lot of things in this film that I really, really liked, but in general, this film was not as good as it could have been. There were a lot of things holding it back, and I'm going to get into all of that in a minute. Before we start, one thing that I just want to say, I bought this book, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, with the intention of reading it before the movie came out. I bought this like 2 months ago. This is the book that Supergirl, the movie, is directly based on, and I never read it. I bought it and I never read it. I am not proud of this. I just never found the time. Well, I can't speak at all to how this is as an adaptation. I swear I am going to read this book eventually. I've heard very good things about it, but for now, I can only judge this movie as a movie, not an adaptation. So I'm just letting you guys know that right from the start. Okay, anyway, getting into Supergirl, starting with the number one thing that I unambiguously liked about this movie. Millie Alcock. Millie Alcock's performance as Supergirl in this film was really, really good. In general, I really liked the character of Supergirl. I thought they made her an incredibly interesting protagonist. What's really compelling about this character is that she is a much more jaded, depressed, pessimistic version of Superman. She lived on Krypton. Like, she wasn't sent away from the planet as a baby. She lived on a fragment of Krypton that remained after its destruction for a few years before that fragment also died. So as a result, she kind of has a reason to be a lot more jaded. She has lived a much harder life than Kal-El, and I thought that was very, very interesting. And another thing that I thought was very interesting about this character is that even though she is a lot more jaded and angry, she's still earnestly trying to be a hero. She wants to help people. She wants to live by Superman's example. She just finds it to be a lot harder to see life the way that Superman does. And I thought all of that was very compelling. Millie Alcock knocked it out of the park. I loved the character of Supergirl. Another performance that I have to unambiguously praise in this film, Jason Momoa as Lobo. Right from the very beginning, since this was announced, I knew this was amazing casting. Yup, he knocked it out of the park. Jason Momoa was born to play Lobo. As much as I liked him as Aquaman, he was always going to be better in this role. It just suits him way more, and I found him to just be a blast. He's not in the movie as much as the marketing for the film would have you believe. He is definitely kind of a recurring side character. He's not really on the adventure with Supergirl and Ruthie, but still, with the little bits that you get of him, he stole the show in every scene he was in. I loved Lobo in this film. So this movie actually centers around Supergirl accompanying this one young girl named Ruthie on this adventure across the galaxy. Ruthie is trying to get revenge on this villain named Krem of the Yellow Hills who killed her family, and I thought that Ruthie was a pretty interesting character. I thought it was interesting that she is a character who really, really wants to get revenge, but at the same time, there's also a little bit of innocence that still remains in this girl, even after she lost her entire family. And throughout this movie, Supergirl is kind of trying to help her navigate her emotions, understand that revenge isn't going to take away her pain. And I thought a lot of that was really interesting. I thought Eve Ridley, the young actress who plays Ruthie, did a really good job in this movie. So yeah, in general, I liked her. Superficially, I thought Supergirl was fun. I had a mostly enjoyable time watching it. It was this fun adventure through space. There are a lot of really fun, creative set pieces in this movie. There are some cool action sequences, some fun needle drops. So superficially, if you are just going into this movie to have a good time, I think you'll have a good time. With all of that being said, the big problem with this film is that its script very much feels like a first draft. Supergirl did not feel like it lived up to the potential that it had. I felt like there were so many elements in this movie's story that just felt very, very half-baked. For example, Supergirl and Ruthie's relationship with each other. I mentioned that I liked those two characters individually, but what I didn't mention is that I didn't really care for their dynamic with each other. That is the emotional crux of the film. It is kind of about these two characters forming a sister-like bond with each other, and I just didn't find it to be all that compelling. They don't really have that many moments of vulnerability with each other. They kind of just bicker throughout the entire movie, and as a result, when you get to moments in the third act of the film where they are trying to go for these big emotions, I just kind of felt nothing. Like, I didn't really feel anything for the dynamic between these two characters. And once again, that is the emotional crux of the movie, so that's kind of important. I also found the villain of this movie to be incredibly generic. Clem of the Yellow Hills was not hateable, he wasn't that entertaining, he wasn't interesting at all. I just found him to be a completely generic, boring villain. He's honestly probably the weakest element of the film. Like, this is the type of villain where I am telling you, in like 10 years, when the DCU has like 20 movies and 30 villains, I am not going to remember Clem of the Yellow Hills at all. He is going to be towards the bottom of my villain ranking when we get to that point. Otherwise, this movie is supposed to be like this sci-fi intergalactic space adventure, but to be totally honest with you, to make a sci-fi intergalactic space adventure, the movie kinda has to look good. Like, you have to have a movie where you're visiting planets that look unique and interesting. I didn't find any of this movie's planets to be unique or interesting. To be totally frank with you, I thought Supergirl was kind of an ugly movie. The CGI looked fine, but the planets themselves just looked so boring and dull. The movie does not have an interesting color palette. It's mostly just brown, and I just found all of that to be so unappealing. I also think that there are elements of this movie that I praised earlier that are only really good half of the time. Like, I mentioned that I thought the movie's action was cool. Yeah, some of it is, but a lot of it is actually kinda bad. Like, there is some action in this movie that is just edited in a very disorienting way, and I did not enjoy those sequences. I mentioned that I liked this movie's needle drops, and that is mostly true, with the exception of one. I'm not gonna say anything else because it comes very late in the movie, and I don't want to go into spoilers, but all I can tell you is that Supergirl has one of the worst needle drops that I have ever heard in a movie ever. The song that they picked for a specific scene just did not fit at all. It stuck out like a sore thumb. And that scene is a very important scene. So, yeah, in general, I thought Supergirl was a fun time. I enjoyed myself. But I just thought that the actual story of the film was very half-baked. It didn't really look that good. It had a lot of weird tonal inconsistencies and stuff like that. So, I think it's mid. Not bad. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. 6 out of 10. I can't really go any higher than that. I was pretty much completely unmoved by this film. So, I feel like the last thing that I really want to talk about in this video is the state of the DCU right now. How are we doing? We are a little over a year in. Well, actually a lot over a year, because Creature Commandos was 2024. We have 4 projects now, 2 movies, plus Creature Commandos and Peacemaker Season 2. How are we doing right now? Ultimately, I think we're still doing pretty good. I haven't disliked any of the projects in this universe. I thought that Superman was amazing. I thought Creature Commandos was good. And now we have 2 projects, Peacemaker and Supergirl, that I thought were just okay. We're still doing pretty good. Ultimately, I think all of the problems that the DCU has at this current moment are fixable ones. We're going through a lot of the same growing pains that the MCU went through, where there's projects that just aren't as interesting, there's projects that feel immensely overstuffed. Like, the MCU went through that. I only like half of the things that came out in phase 1 of the MCU, so I would say that right now we're in a position where, yes, the DCU has problems, but they're fixable. I don't know if that's going to be how I feel by the end of the year, because we have 2 more projects coming out this year. I'm excited for Clayface. I'm cautiously optimistic for Lanterns. And then, I'm very excited for Man of Tomorrow next year. Like, I still think the DCU is in a good place. Ultimately, what is important to recognize is we are in a way better place right now than the DCEU was at this point. At least we don't have a Superman and a Batman who kill people 2 movies in. These are fixable issues. So yeah, there you go. Those are my thoughts on Supergirl and the general state of the DCU right now. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below, what are your thoughts on Supergirl if you've seen it? And see ya, movie fans. I promise I'm gonna actually read this now. I promise I'll do that.